Hello again. Aren't you enjoying these lovely stories of the prophets, Elisha and Elijah raising the dead? And then Jesus using them as inspiration. He rose the young boy at Nain, the widow's son, and he rose the daughter of Jairus and also Lazarus and so on. Then even a young boy was raised accidentally when he said, "I am," in the Garden of Gethsemane, and a young boy with a linen cloth ran around. His grave was open as well. So Jesus had so much power. And he gave a command to his disciples in Matthew 10 and verse 8. Go, heal the sick, raise the dead. Now that command was a command not just to his disciples then, but to us also. Now let's see how Peter responded to that command. Have a look in Acts chapter 9 and verse 32 onwards. This is the Apostle Peter. He was ministering from place to place, and he visited God's devoted ones in the village of Lydda. He met a man there called Ananias, who had been paralyzed and bedridden for 8 years. Peter said to him, Ananias, Jesus, the anointed one, in other words, the Christ, instantly and divinely heals you. Look at the confidence there. Peter just said to him, Jesus heals you instantly and divinely now. Now stand up and make your bed. And at once this man, Ananias, stood up, and all the people of Lydda saw it and became believers in the Lord. No wonder as well. Now in verse 36, there was a follower of Jesus who lived in Joppa. Her Aramaic name was Tabitha, meaning gazelle. She lived her life doing kind things for others and serving the poor. But then she became very ill and died. And after the disciples prepared her body for burial, they laid her in an upstairs room. When the believers heard that Peter was nearby in Lydda, they sent 2 men with an urgent message to come without delay. So Peter went back with them to Joppa, and on arriving they led him to the upper room. There were many widows standing next to Peter, weeping. One after another they showed him the tunics and the garments that Tabitha had made to bless others. Peter made them all leave the room. He knelt down and prayed. He turned to the dead body and said, Tabitha, rise up. She opened her eyes, and seeing Peter, she sat up. He took her by the hand and helped her to her feet, called for the believers and all the widows to come and see that she was alive. The news spread all over the city of Joppa, and many believed in the Lord. I should say so as well. They believed in the Lord. They saw the dead raised. This is what we're supposed to be doing as well. Now, what about Paul? I'm looking in Acts chapter 20 now, and beginning at verse 6. As soon as the Passover celebrations were over, we sailed from Philippi and joined the others in Troas, where we stayed another week. Verse 7. On Sunday we gathered to take communion and to hear Paul preach. Now here's an opportunity for the church to hear the Apostle Paul. They weren't going to miss this. Every word, they hung on every word, you know. He was planning to leave the next day, so he continued speaking until past midnight. There were many flickering lights. The candles were probably burning down in the upstairs chamber where we were meeting. And sitting in an open window, listening, was a young man named Eutychus. As Paul's sermon dragged on, Eutychus became drowsy and fell into a deep slumber. Sound asleep, he fell 3 stories to his death below. It's a big drop, 3 stories high. Paul went downstairs, bent over the boy, and embraced him. Taking him in his arms, he said to all the people, "Stop your worrying. He's come back to life." And Paul went back upstairs, served communion, ate a meal with them, and then picked back up where he left off and carried on teaching until dawn. He hadn't finished his message. So, despite the interruption of somebody dying in the middle of the message, he just carried on until dawn. And filled with enormous joy, they took the boy home and everyone was encouraged. Now, this command to raise the dead tends to frighten us, but because we think, well, we can't do that. It's too heavy for us. I want to quote you a verse from Matthew 11, verse 28 to 30. Are you tired? This is from the Message. Are you tired, worn out, burnt out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll live freely and lightly. Notice Jesus said, I'm not going to put anything too heavy on you. Why should this command to heal the sick and raise the dead be heavy for us? The only reason why it will become a weight for us is that we move out of heavenly reality, we start back into the earth's reality again. And we condemn ourselves because we see ourselves, oh, we're not good enough to do that. We're not able to do that. But we're one spirit with the Lord. We're absolutely perfect and complete in him. Colossians 2 verses 9 and 10. So we are the righteousness of Christ, and we have the ability to work miracles. And if that puts a weight on you, then it's told you quite clearly you've moved back into earth's reality. If raising the dead seems to be a big deal to you, it's not because it is a big deal, it's because you made it. You and I make it a big deal. We must stop making raising from the dead a big deal. You are allowing death to seem bigger than a headache. They're the same. A headache and death, you might say, oh, it's two different categories. No, they are the work of the devil, and we can overcome both of them. Something we consider small and something we made enormously big. We must stop making raising the dead a big deal. It's not a big deal. We got resurrection power. Jesus gave life to anyone he wanted to. That's John 5 and verse 21. I didn't look up that verse. You can look up that verse yourself. And we have got that same ability. When necessary, we can apply resurrection power and raise the dead. Believe me, we can do it. It's not a big deal.